I mean, I don't know how much money you make. We gonna talk about that?
I don't know how much money I make.
What's up, guys? It's your girl Nova, and right now we're sitting with H for the first time in person. Okay, from HA Moms, and I'm so excited that we're finally doing this. Like, it's been a long time coming. This is probably like our third interview. Yeah, third interview. So I'm not even gonna do all the introductions. Y'all can do that on your own, okay? But we're gonna jump right into it. So how are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you for stopping by.
No
good to be in Jersey.
I know, we in Jersey. What made you come all the way out here though, in this part?
I had to come out here and do some business, so I had to stop off. I'm headed to New York right now.
Okay.
With COVID and everything, it's a roundabout way.
So I know you're in Texas. How is Texas life for you? Like, how was that transition?
Texas, right this minute, is crazy with the weather, but in terms of business, Texas has been great. I basically cohabitate. So everywhere that we invest, I make sure I have a house in that part of town.
So I know the last time we left off, we was in Philly. So what made you venture out into Texas out of all states?
There's a lot of benefits to being in Texas. One of the benefits for my clients is that there's no state tax. So if you're in a bracket where you're making 35%, then you got to give the city of Philadelphia 8 to 10. You got to give the city of New York, and then you got to give the state of New York. You got to give the state of Pennsylvania. So on average, it saves my clients anywhere from 8 to 15% of income tax, and that's just one of the benefits. On top of the cheap property values, the high rents. So there's a lot of benefits to being in Texas.
Do you think that's like the new Mecca? I think that's the word. Where, like, you know how Atlanta is like the hot place now, so now Texas, and you think that's like where everybody gonna be at next?
A lot of people moving to Texas. A lot of people are leaving the East Coast and going to places like Texas, Florida. Boston is basically like Brooklyn, but it's small.
Really?
A lot of art, a lot of culture. It's very progressive. It feels like Williamsburg in Boston. So a lot of really good food, and the properties are really, really expensive. That's where we're moving towards investing this year.
Okay. And I know that you started like what, 3-4 years ago?
In terms of Texas? Or
no, in terms of just overall investing.
My first investment was in 2005.
So that's
in Brooklyn. And then I started doing real estate the right way. HA Homes was created in 2015. So 6 years now.
So 6 years. So what do you think is the difference between what you know from back then to now? Like, how has business changed for you throughout those years?
There's so many things. I can tell you, in the beginning, I used to buy properties with cash. So that means we could only do one thing at a time. I also started in New York, which meant my cash didn't go very far.
Right.
So in terms of investing, we get back way more returns. We move properties way faster. And in terms of my business, the products we offer, we have a lot more than just management. Now we can flip. We have wholesaling. Even though I personally am not a wholesaler, I work with wholesalers, but we can get our clients way cheaper houses. And we give way better deals. My advice is better because I know a lot more.
So, like, let me ask you, I know experience is your best teacher, but like, how did you find yourself learning more, or I guess not being scared to lose money in the process of like trying to learn? Because like you said, you're not into wholesaling, but I'm pretty sure you've done it, and you probably lost money because you didn't know how to do it. So like, how are you learning? How did you find your mentors? How did you find people on your team? Like, how did you do that?
A lot of it is trial and error. And sometimes when you lose money, like, you don't go in trying to lose money.
Right.
But it just happens. So as a flipper, last year in 2020, we flipped 45 houses in the city, or Central Texas, because it's different cities that we flipped in. I wasn't expecting to do 45 houses. My goal was 10. Not to mention the other houses that we just bought, sold, and did wholesale deals for. So I fell into wholesale because we had so many open jobs. We had prices that we had homes that we bought for so cheap. We didn't have crews to work on them. So I ended up just selling them to other flippers and other investors who had crews. So we made a little bit of money off of it, but we didn't lose money because by the time we would have got to them, we would have been behind schedule. In terms of mentors and that sort of thing, it's just good energy. What I find is that something that's a little bit different about me today that didn't exist a year, 2, 3 years ago was that when I started, I needed people's help.
Right.
So I would reach out to relatives, co-workers, friends, and I would tell them, I had this great idea, I could do this and all these expanding things. And what I know today that maybe I didn't know then was that people didn't want to invest in me, not because they didn't trust me as Hussain. They didn't trust what I could do with the money because we were still working at the same place.
Right.
If I'm telling you I can make you $1 million,
you'll be like, okay.
And they're like, then why aren't you? Then why aren't you? Then why aren't you? So when I first started out, I was giving people crazy interest rates to try to get them to buy in. And the difference is now I have a resume, I've won awards, I have success, I have offices, I have different ventures that we're into. I'm sure we'll touch on it later. So now I don't even advertise. I don't advertise for HG Homes. I have so many clients that just their referrals comes that way. Kind of like how we met.
Right.
You heard me on the interview, and then you called me, and then
we kind of just took it from you. Now we family.
That's it. Third interview.
So I know your business has grown because you said 45 houses that you flip. That's crazy. I know people in Brooklyn, they do like 1 or 2 little flips and then they feel like they win, but you're doing 45 and you're saying it humbly. How have you dealt with delegating tasks? Because I know that you're not doing the regular stuff that you used to do like 3, 4, 5 years ago with like doing invoices and all those tedious tasks. How have you transitioned to delegating work to people? Because I know for entrepreneurs or people who are starting up, they do so many different things, but they don't know how to let go and trust that other people can do it. How have you done that? And what advice can you give?
I just know that being a leader, so the word leader is a word that people throw around way too much. And they say things like, he's a good leader, he's a bad leader, this, that, and the third. And I think you're only a leader if you're successful in what your task is. As a leader, I know enough to know what I'm good at and what I'm not so good at. And the things that I'm not good at and that I don't want to do, I find people whose skill set fit that perfectly. So I'm not really a researcher, I'm not really a reader, I'm not really a writer. So I have people on my team who love to do those things, and I say, let's work on this. I have a degree in mathematics, but I don't do my own taxes. I pay somebody who does taxes every day. That's all that she does. She's a specialist. So basically, I seek out the best of the best in whatever field I need. Contractors, licensed electricians, plumbers, realtors. I partner with some of the best realtors in every city that I work in. So I just look for the best. Just try it. Shout out to everybody, right? It's trial and error.
Right. And how do you go about vetting them, like knowing which one is the right one?
Now that we have expertise, there's certain questions that I can ask that aren't surface level.
Gotcha.
Like when my staff got interviewed to come work for us, it's kind of like Google. Like I'm not gonna ask you what's your 5-year goal or can you type 100 words, that doesn't matter.
Right.
Anybody can learn those skills. I'm more worried about critical thinking. So I had a scenario-based interview process. People left crying, walked out the interview. And I had my first set of interviews, I think I had like 800 to 1,000 applicants. I whittled it down to 8 people, 10 people. In that interview, 3 people walked out in the middle of the interview. Because, when your resume, you say you can do this, that, and the third. So they were expecting maybe like a simple question or like they dress nice. I was like, all right, so this is the scenario. What do you do? And people were just like, and left. Because that's what I'm looking for. Like, I'm not looking for somebody who can tell me what I already know.
Right.
I'm looking for somebody who can handle a problem when I'm not there. Sometimes I'm on the East Coast, sometimes I'm over here, sometimes I'm over there. And I need to know that if you're running my office, you can handle that if you can't get me on the phone.
Right. So then, what are some difficulties that you face, like after you got your team, what are some difficulties that you say that you face running or managing a team, managing multiple properties? Like, how do you, like, what problems do you see surface that you have to deal with, and how do you deal with them?
One of the things that I had to learn, and it actually happened at the end of last year, is that the manpower versus how much money a product was going to make us, the risk and reward. So let's say management, for example. Management usually is about 8 to 10% of whatever the rent and late fees are. So let's say you manage 100 properties, that might be $15,000 a month that comes into the business. $15,000 a month is okay. But if I'm paying $30,000 in payroll,
then you gotta figure out where the other $15,000.
So then you're actually losing money to offer a product. So as we grew, it wasn't just like steps. Last year, it just like exploded for whatever reason. I like to believe it's because I was fully retired and not giving 100% to my company. But for whatever reason, again, the goal was 10 flips. Did 45, and that didn't really take off till May.
Right.
So from May to December, we did 45, and some things didn't close and they carried over to January. So you could really say in like 6 months, we did almost 50 houses. So there was a lot of learning. I hired people, I fired people. You got crooked contractors. There's just so much that you learn as you go. But you would hope, or at least I hope, that I have a sense of who I'm working with. And I also have a history in adult management, right? So I have a degree in building and district administration, right? From when I used to work for the school system, I was licensed to be a principal. I could have even been a superintendent if I wanted to, because I took the coursework. But just the DOE in that sense wasn't for me. But basically, not only do I have that sense, I was also training to work with adults and make groups collaborate and that sort of thing. So formally trained, and I have that business experience.
Let's switch gears with social media. I noticed you haven't been posting a lot. So is there a reason why, or like, is there something cooking that we should, be expecting?
Well, as far as HA Homes, we thought that it was best to stop posting because it's like we're kind of giving away free content. And I think, and I'm all for giving away that free content, but I also think it's almost like a reward. So people may not understand really what they're scrolling by. Okay. And that's fine. So basically, who's my audience on HA Homes Instagram page? It's a limited audience. It's either current investors, potential investors, or people who are just there to kind of see what we do.
Test the waters.
Right? Which, I guess those are potential clients, but, I call them, just
no lurkers.
If you would, fine.
I'm
right?
calling y'all lurkers.
Fine, lurkers. That means everybody has access to the page. And we thought about even making the page private and only for clients, only for people who are willing to take the plunge, if you will. So this information is accessible to everybody, sure, but it's almost like a reward. If you want to watch the story, then you're going to get extra content. I'm going to answer very specific questions because it's only there for 24 hours.
Right.
And it's giving you more intimate access to me. So I don't feel like at this point I really want to just put anything up because then it also gets lost. If you have so many posts and I don't know, I always think of ways to give the best value to anybody who wants to interact with me.
That's so different because I know in this day and age, everybody's always preaching give value on social media and consistently post because you want to get those clients, you want to get the dollars basically, you want to convert them. But it's interesting to hear your point of view on it with not really posting because you want to get value, but you want them to feel like they work for that. And I think that's fair enough to say too because I feel like a lot of the times people, they're lurkers. They want, but they don't want to work for what they're getting. And then it's kind of, I don't know, I guess it's unfair in a way. So
yeah, it's kind of like the idea of us having a consultation fee.
Right.
And if you remember when we first started, there was there a do we have
it was like $500.
Okay, $500. It's more than that now. Before that, I didn't have a consultation fee.
Really?
Because I was trying to get people's investment. And then what ended up happening was I noticed that I was working too hard to try to get people to believe in my product. And then I started having success. So I started needing people's money less and less. Mm-hmm. Now we're at a point where the biggest problem I have now is I don't have enough properties for all my clients, and my client base keeps growing. Mm-hmm. While I've been on this vacation, I signed up 3 new clients. So I already don't have enough, and that's why we're in different markets. And I have some clients who have major money to spend, and a place like Khalid is not going to spend it fast enough.
Right.
If somebody tells me he goes $500,000 to spend, that's $2.5 million buying power, right? Because it's 20% down towards what your loan is. So if they say, I got 500 to spend, I want 10 buildings. Khalid's prices, first of Khalid, we've done so many sales that those.
You sound like we own Khalid at this point. Like, we just gonna say that. We just gonna play that.
No. But that being said, so then we go to a place like Houston, Dallas, Boston, where we can do a $400,000 purchase. We can do a $500,000 purchase. Whereas in Khalid, our average purchase was $80,000.
Right.
So I could basically help my clients still get a high return, but the money goes a little faster for them, so they don't feel like they're not maximizing their investment. See, it's not about spending their money. The way investors look at it, every day my money's not making money, I'm losing money.
Right.
So if I got 500 sitting in the bank and it's making 1%, I'm losing 29% every day. So I gotta invest that money fast, otherwise my clients aren't happy with me. So that's why we're in different markets.
That makes sense. So it's kind of like you have different tiers for your clients. Like Khalid is like for your smaller people who have smaller investment, and then you go to the larger cities for the bigger investment. So that's dope. That's very well structured. Very well structured. So I know that you said that when you started out, you always tell the story that people did not see the vision. And now, I mean, I don't know how much money you make. We gonna talk about that?
I don't know how much money I make.
But I'm more than positive those people have found their way back to you. So how have you dealt with that?
That's a good question. They get consultation fees. No. So what happens is, that has happened. Mm-hmm. There's some people who in the beginning didn't want to, it's kind of like Young Jones. Mm-hmm. Back then they didn't want me, now I did. But the reality is though, that was one mind frame. And I did shift my mindset because I understand the situation. Like for me, if somebody walked in here right now, let's say I didn't have really a lot of money. Let's say I only have like 4, 5, 10,000 in the bank, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And I have regular bills, and somebody comes in and says, well, you know, if you gave me 10,000, I could do this with your money. I don't have any track record, but I have a really good idea. They could be the most trustworthy person in the world. I may not be comfortable with giving them my money because they might have good intentions, mm-hmm. but they may not have the full game plan. I learned a lot of lessons over the last few years where I lost some money and I learned some lessons, this, that, and third. Mm-hmm. But now I know what the things are that I need to do and how to get ahead of that, and then now my clients make even more money. With that being said, people do ask, you know, so how much money do you make? How much property do you own? And I always respond with, does that make a difference in how much money you're going to make?
Right.
I could have 100,000, I could have $1 million, I could have 10 million. Is that going to make you more money? Is that going to lose you more money? Like, I find that a lot of times when people are worried about how much money I have, they're probably not a client I want to work with because their mind is focused on the wrong thing. Yeah. But you're worried about my money. Whenever we come to a deal, you should be worried about how much money you're going to make.
Right.
If I told you you're going to invest your money with me and you're going to make 30% of your money, that's a great deal. You should be happy with that. Maybe I'm making 1%. Maybe I'm making 1,000%. It shouldn't matter. As long as you're happy.
Everybody should be eating. Like, I don't understand why people look at that or like, oh, well, how much you gonna get from me? Because at the end of the day, you're doing something with my money, so you should get something for it as well. But I think people are just so stuck up in this kind of money hungry way where it's just like, nah, I just want everything for myself. They kind of stunt their own growth because of that.
1,000%, and that's what ends up happening. Just the other day, if he sees this, tell him it's true. He said, I like what you got going on. I'ma sleep on it. And I told him, then don't come back to my office. A year ago, I couldn't afford to say that with my new consultation fees and everything. So now, it's not for you. Mm-hmm. He was like, what do you mean? Like, I want to do it. I said, so if you want to do it, what do you need to sleep over? Like, why do you need to sleep on it? Because with these deals, I just posted the other day this commercial property out here. I got the email, let's say 4 o'clock. I responded 4:15. By 5:30, the deal's already gone. Mm-hmm. And this is a 68,000 square foot commercial. This isn't a $30,000 house. Mm-hmm. Somebody bought that in a matter of that hour.
But you just said that like you have so many clients and limited amount of property, so you sleeping on it, you kind of.
It's gonna go to the next person.
Yeah.
So what I tell that person is, if you have that many reservations, then don't work with me. Mm-hmm. Because I'm not the type of person, if I text you or one of my staff texts you or emails you, we're expecting that you came down, because I didn't reach out to him, he reached out to me. You reached out to us because you like what we did, then that money needs to be committed. Because if you make me lose a deal, then I could have went to somebody else.
Right.
I'm not going to work with you if you make me lose deals. I cut clients actually way more than people might think.
Really?
I cut clients all the time.
With no hard feelings? Or just business?
What else is it?
I think I'm too emotional. Like, I get emotionally attached. And it's just like, dang, I'm going to have to let you go. I'm sorry. And then I don't know.
Our work relationship has been good.
Yeah.
But so when I call you about a deal, do you sleep on it? What do you do?
No, I'm like, alright, what I gotta do?
Because you have faith in what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. So if you miss those opportunities, then you're wasting my time and you're wasting opportunity. And what I think too many people do is they think that there's so many opportunities. 6 months ago, we might have had 200 or 300 houses to buy and call you. Now, I work with like 10, 15 different people who call me every day with deals, and I might only pick 2 of them out of 15 a day, because the numbers have to make sense. I don't just give my clients a deal just to give them a deal. They have to be a certain value, because I'm not going to waste their time, and it's also not wasting my time. Mm-hmm. So those houses are shrinking up. It's a seller's market right now. We're selling houses 10,000 over what we thought we would get 6 months ago. Everybody's making money, so you can't sleep. You know, none of this stuff is guaranteed.
So what advice would you give to entrepreneurs who are watching this that are going through the same thing right now and they're starting things, trying to get people to see the vision, to invest with them? What advice would you give them to get over that challenge, or get over that obstacle?
I just wrote a book in November. I released a book called Fear, Forget Everything and Reset. The website is fearworkshops.com. You can go on Instagram, be on Facebook. I'll go into that in details. 234-page book with photos. The short answer that I would give to entrepreneurs who are just starting off right now is